The Galactic Federation Senate chambers hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species conversing in their native tongues. The circular chamber stretched nearly half a kilometer across, its shimmering alloy walls reflecting the holographic banners of the galaxy's dominant empires. At the center, beneath the flickering emblems of the Zephyrian hegemony and Vorak dominion, stood a single human-sized podium, barely noticeable among the towering platforms of the Greek species. Elias Vance adjusted his collar, the scar over his left eye pulling tight as he clenched his jaw. The human delegation consisted of just 3 people: himself, a young aide whose hands wouldn't stop shaking, and a retired diplomat who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Around them, chitin-plated Zephyrians clicked their mandibles in amusement, while hulking Vorak warriors deliberately flexed their dorsal spines as they passed. "Order," boomed the voice of High Chancellor Vora, his reptilian scales glistening under the chamber's artificial suns. The Vorak's massive tail swept across the floor as he took his position at the central dais. "We convene to vote on the petition of Earth for a seat on the Galactic Defense Council." Senator Vexler of the Zephyrian hegemony was the first to rise, his forearms unfolding like the legs of some predatory insect. "This is absurd," he hissed, his voice modulator clicking with each syllable. "Humans have contributed nothing to galactic security. Their military technology is 2 centuries behind minimum standards. Their soldiers," he paused to make a derisive noise from his abdominal vents, "they can't even survive in vacuum without those ridiculous suits." Elias felt his aide stiffen beside him. He placed a steadying hand on the young man's shoulder without looking away from Vexler. "Our suits," Elias said, his voice carrying across the chamber without amplification, "are what allowed us to colonize Mars, while your ancestors were still figuring out how to farm algae." A ripple of surprised murmurs spread through the assembly. Ambassador Krell, the Vorak war hero, let out a deep, rumbling laugh that shook the floor plates. "Cute," the reptilian giant said, stepping down from his podium to loom over Elias. "Your little Mars domes wouldn't last 10 minutes against a single Vorak boarding party. Face it, human, your kind has never won a war against a real species." Krell's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air near Elias's face. "Stick to farming." Elias didn't flinch. He'd faced worse than Krell during the Kessler Wars, when Earth's orbital habitats had turned into killing fields. "You're right," he said, loud enough for the entire chamber to hear. "We haven't fought your kind before, but we've fought ourselves for millennia. And let me tell you something, when humans go to war, we don't stop until the enemy stops breathing." The chamber fell silent. Even the ever-present hum of translation drones seemed to pause. Then Vexler began that clicking laughter again. "Brave words from a species whose greatest military achievement is..." "What, that little skirmish in your asteroid belt? The one where you nearly wiped yourselves out?" Elias felt his fingers curl into fists. The Kessler Wars had cost Earth 30 million lives. "That little skirmish taught us more about warfare than your entire Federation has learned in 500 years of bullying pre-spaceflight civilizations." High Chancellor Vora slammed his tail against the floor, the impact vibrating through the chamber. "Enough. The vote will proceed." His slit, pupilled eyes locked onto Elias. "Earth's petition is denied. Unanimous decision." The vote took less than 30 seconds. Not a single species abstained. As the holographic tally displayed the crushing defeat, Krell leaned down again, his breath hot and sulphurous. "Don't take it personally, soft skin. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Some species just aren't meant to play with the big ones." Elias watched as the alien delegates filed out, already laughing about the humans' humiliation. His aide looked ready to collapse. "Sir, what do we tell Earth Command?" Elias straightened his jacket, his eyes never leaving Krell's retreating form. "Tell them the Federation just made the biggest mistake in galactic history." He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing against the encrypted data chip he'd been carrying for 3 months. The one marked with a single ancient symbol, a wolf's head. "And tell them it is time to wake the hunters." The Antarctic wind howled like a dying beast, rattling the steel shutters of the buried facility. Dr. Lisa Hayes exhaled sharply, watching her breath fog against the frozen control panel. Her fingers danced across the ancient keyboard, each keystroke sending fresh pain through joints stiffened by the cold. The screen flickered to life, casting a sickly green glow across her face. Still nothing. Admiral Riker's voice crackled through her earpiece. The old man's image shimmered on a secondary monitor, his grizzled face lined with scars from battles. Lisa only knew from history texts. Lisa wiped frost from the screen. This archive was sealed before my grandparents were born. The encryption's holding. She tapped another command. But there is something here. The system's fighting me harder than standard military protocols. A new prompt flashed. Access denied. Project Long Night Eyes only. Riker leaned closer to his camera. Try my old override Sierra Tango 7 Niner Epsilon. The system beeped. Then the entire room shuddered as massive hydraulic locks disengaged. Frost rained from the ceiling as a vault door Lisa hadn't even noticed began sliding open. "What the hell is this place?" Lisa whispered, stepping into the newly revealed chamber. Rows of cryo pods lined the walls, their glass frosted over. Holoscreens flickered to life automatically, displaying black and white footage of men and women in strange armor, moving faster than should be possible. Riker's voice dropped to a whisper. "We promised never to wake them." Lisa approached the nearest pod, wiping away ice to reveal a face beneath. The man inside looked peaceful, almost serene, but the scars crisscrossing his body told another story. His arms bore surgical marks where metal met flesh. "Who are they?" "Project Long Night," Riker said. "Last resort, after the Kessler Wars, when the orbital strikes wiped out half of Beijing and Moscow, we realized conventional warfare was obsolete, so we built something different." Lisa pulled up a personnel file. A screen displayed a name, Captain Darius Cole. Stats scrolled beside his photo. Reflexes enhanced, Phi bone density doubled. Neural implants allowing tactical processing at speeds that would liquefy a normal brain. "This is impossible," Lisa breathed. "The Geneva Accords were rewritten in secret," Riker interrupted. "The galaxy thinks we spent the last century fighting over scraps. They don't know we were preparing for them." A new video played automatically. Grainy footage showed a single man, Cole, dismantling an entire mechanized battalion with nothing but a combat knife. Bodies fell like wheat before a scythe. Lisa's hands shook. "Why bury this?" Riker's face darkened. "Because hunters don't just kill enemies. They erase civilizations. The program was shelved when the Federation made first contact. Too dangerous." A klaxon blared. Lisa spun as a new alert flashed on the main screen. Federation Council vote confirmed Earth denied defense seat. Beneath it played the clip of Ambassador Krell sneering at Elias Vance. Riker's missing fingers twitched. The galaxy just declared open season. Lisa looked back at the cryo. Pods. The frost on Cole's pod had begun to melt. "Wake them," Riker ordered. Lisa hesitated. "Do we even control them?" Riker's smile held no warmth. "We don't have to, just point them at the enemy." The system prompted for final authorization. Lisa's finger hovered over the key somewhere deep in the facility. Machinery groaned to life. The first pod hissed as its seals broke. Cole's eyes snapped open. The alarms wailed across Outpost Delta, Faye, their shrill cries cutting through the moonlit night. Commander Torvek's chitinous plates rattled with irritation as he stormed onto the observation deck. Below, the pirate clans swarmed the perimeter like carrion insects, their plasma cutters already chewing through the outer gates. "Where are our reinforcements?" Tvek snapped, one of his 4 hands crushing a data tablet. The Zeperian lieutenant trembled. "High Command says they're sending a single operative." Tvek's mandibles clicked in disbelief. 1 against 500 pirates. A shadow moved at the edge of the floodlights. Captain Darius Cole stepped into the light. He wasn't what Tvek expected. No powered armor, no visible weapons, just a man in a black tactical suit, his face obscured by a sleek visor. The pirates didn't even notice him at first, too busy laughing as they breached the gates. Then Cole moved. One moment he was standing still. The next, a pirate's head snapped sideways with a wet crack. The body hadn't even hit the ground before Cole was among them, his fists blurring, bones shattered. Armor crumpled like foil. A pirate raised his plasma rifle. Cole tore it from his hands and drove the barrel through his chest. Tivek's breath caught. What in the void is that? Cole didn't speak, didn't pause. He flowed through the battlefield like liquid death, every motion precise, every strike lethal. A pirate swung a vibro. Axe Cole caught the blade bare, handed and crushed it in his grip. Another fired a point-blank plasma shot. Cole sidestepped, grabbed the pirate's wrist, and redirected the blast into his comrade's face. The outpost defenders watched in stunned silence. "Hez not even breathing hard," the lieutenant whispered. Tivek's comm crackled. A pirate captain's voice. "Smug, surrender, Zeperian." "Well, make it quick." Cole's head tilted slightly. Then he vanished. The pirate captain's transmission cut off mid-sentence. On the battlefield, the tide turned. Pirates began falling without warning. Throats slit, spines snapped, skulls caved in. Some screamed. Most didn't have time. Cole moved through them like a ghost, his visor reflecting the dying flames of their burning skiffs. A group of pirates tried to run. Cole let them. Then the sniper rounds started hitting. From the darkness, precise shots took the fleeing pirates in the knees. The shoulders, non-lethal, but agonizing. Cole wanted them alive. Tech realized with dawning horror. Why? The remaining pirates clustered together. Back, two back, weapons shaking. "Show yourself," one roared. Cole obliged. He walked into their midst, slow, deliberate. The pirates opened fire, plasma bolts, railgun spikes, sonic disruptors. None touched him. Cole weaved between the shots like a man strolling through rain, untouched. Then he struck, fingers through eye sockets, palms crushing windpipes, a knee driving into a chest hard enough to collapse lungs. The last pirate standing swung wildly. Cole caught his arm and twisted. The limb came off with a wet pop. Silence. 17 minutes. 500 pirates. One man. Cole turned toward the outpost. Tech's heart pounded as their eyes met through the visor. For the first time in his life, the Zeperian felt true fear. The comms hissed. Cole's voice, calm, quiet, outpost secure. Tivek's transmission to high command was less composed. His claws trembled as he keyed the frequency. They sensed something unnatural. Outside, Cole stood amidst the carnage, his visor reflecting the burning wrecks. Somewhere in the darkness, the surviving pirates whimpered. He didn't look at them. He was already thinking about the next mission. The holographic display flickered in the dim light of the Federation war room, replaying the carnage on loop. High Chancellor Vora's claws dug into the polished obsidian table as he watched Captain Darius Cole move through the pirate ranks like a force of nature. Bodies fell in his wake, limbs twisted at impossible angles, skulls caved in by bare hands. The Vorak leader's scales darkened with stress. Fluid, a biological tell his species hadn't displayed in centuries. 17 minutes, General Shiltha whispered, his chitinous face plates twitching. The Zeperian's secondary arms clutched a datapad showing thermal scans of the battlefield. One human, no weapons, just hands. Vora snarled, slamming a fist on the table. The impact sent ripples through the liquid metal surface. Impossible. The pirates were hardened mercenaries. They took down 3 of our outposts last cycle. Across the war room, analysts from a dozen species worked in terrified silence. A Ceralian telepath suddenly spasmed, its floating ocular orbs flashing red. Chancellor, the psychic backlash from the dying pirates. I've never felt such primal terror. The human wasn't just killing them, he was hunting. Shiltha zoomed the hologram on Cole's face during the final moments of the engagement. No battle fury, no exhaustion, just cold, calculated focus as he snapped the last pirate's spine over his knee. This isn't standard human augmentation. Their baseline military enhancements can't account for this. Zora turned to a hulking Vorak intelligence officer. Tell me you've found a weakness. The officer's throat sac inflated with nervous tension. Our scans show musculoskeletal reinforcement beyond anything in our databases. Neural acceleration that makes their reaction times 12 times faster than our best warriors. And their pain receptors. The officer tapped a screen showing Cole taking a plasma round to the shoulder without flinching. They've been modified to ignore what should be debilitating damage. A murmur spread through the assembled commanders. The Tarkesh Admiral, a species known for their crystalline exoskeletons, actually took a step back from the display. This is one soldier. Earth Command mentioned a program. How many of these monsters do they have? Shilthar pulled up a classified Earth archive file, stolen by deep cover operatives. The screen displayed rows of cryo pods, each containing a sleeping human figure. Project Long Night active roster shows 87 units, but the records indicate they were designed to be. His voice faltered. Designed to be what? Vora roared. Self-replicating, Shilthar whispered. Each hunter can train new candidates. The file says they expected a 50% mortality rate during the selection process. The war room fell silent. On the hologram, Cole had stopped moving. He turned slowly, as if sensing the distant observation, and stared directly into the recording drone's lens. His lips moved, forming words that the Federation linguist eyes translated a second later. We're coming. Vora's crest flattened against his skull in the Vorak equivalent of pallor. Recall all fleets from human space immediately. Shilthar hesitated. The Cerberus operation is already underway. Our Black Ops teams are in position to ambush the hunters there. Abort it. Vora's tail lashed against the floor. You saw what one did to pirates. What happens when they face actual opposition? A junior Zephyrian officer suddenly gasped. Chancellor, we're receiving a priority transmission from Cerberus Station. The main screen flickered to life, showing a derelict corridor littered with Federation Special Forces corpses. A human woman in black tactical gear stepped over the bodies, her face streaked with alien blood but otherwise unmarked. She leaned down to adjust the camera, revealing Lieutenant Kara Slade's insignia on her shoulder. Hey, Federation, Slade said, her voice dripping with amusement. About your trap. The camera panned to show 5 other hunters dismantling a Zephyrian stealth cruiser with their bare hands, ripping through reinforced hull plating like paper. One paused to wave at the camera. Slade's grin turned feral. We brought friends. The transmission cut out just as the station's reactor went critical. The war room's emergency lights flashed red as the shockwave registered on long-range sensors. Shilthar's mandibles clicked in distress. They knew. They knew we were coming. Vora sank into his command throne, all 4 eyes fixed on the static-filled screen. Contact the human delegation. Tell them we wish to reopen negotiations. The Cerelian telepath let out a shuddering breath. Too late, Chancellor. I can feel them now. All of them. The hunters aren't just soldiers. Its orbs pulsed with terrified realization. They're predators, and the galaxy just kicked their hive. Outside the war room's armored viewports, the first distress calls began flashing across the star maps. Human ships, previously thought to be outdated and harmless, were moving with sudden, terrifying purpose. Vora's final order came out as a whisper. Sound general quarters, prepare for war. But the unspoken truth hung heavier than gravity in the room. The war had already begun, and humanity had been preparing for it longer than anyone knew. The station's emergency lights pulsed red, casting long shadows across the blood-slicked hallway. Lieutenant Kara Slade moved like liquid darkness, her boots silent against the grated floor. Behind her, the rest of Hunter Team Sigma fanned out, 6 enhanced killers in black combat armor, their optics glowing faintly in the gloom. Movement 3 o'clock, murmured Vasquez through the neural link. His voice was calm, almost bored. Slade didn't bother nodding. she already knew. She could smell them: Zephyrian musk, the acrid tang of Vorak sweat, the faint ozone of their plasma rifles charging. The Federation Black Ops squad thought they were hunters. They were wrong. A whisper of displaced air. Slade's hand snapped up, fingers closing around the throat of the Zephyrian commando who dropped from the ceiling vents. His 4 eyes bulged as she crushed his windpipe without breaking stride. His body hit the floor with a wet thud. "Trap sprung," Slade said, grinning. "Let's return the favor." Commander Ethvar of the Federation Black Ops clenched his mandibles. His squad had been the best, elite operatives handpicked from a dozen species, trained to kill anything that breathed. But the humans, they weren't right. The first team had gone silent 5 minutes ago. No screams, no gunfire, just static. "Thermals are useless," hissed his Vorak lieutenant, claws flexing around his rifle. "They don't show up, it's like they're—" A wet crunch cut him off. Rethvar spun, plasma rifle rising, just in time to see the lieutenant's head roll across the floor. A shadow detached itself from the ceiling, humanoid, but moving all wrong, joints bending in ways that made Rethvar's exoskeleton itch. "Evening, boys." The voice came from everywhere at once. Rethvar's squad opened fire, plasma bolts searing the air. None of them hit. Then the lights went out. Slade's optics switched to night vision, painting the room in ghostly green. The Black Ops squad was panicking now, firing blind, their discipline crumbling. Amateurs, she flicked her wrist. The monofilament wire unspooled silently, slicing through a Zephyrian's legs at the knee. He toppled, screaming, just as Vasquez put a round through his skull. 4 left, Slade murmured. Across the room, Ningguang was playing with his prey, a hulking Vorak who'd managed to land a lucky punch. Ningguang spat out a tooth, grinned, and ripped the Vorak's arm off at the socket. The alien's shriek cut off as Ningguang drove the severed limb through his chest. 3. Rethvar backed into a corner, his rifle clicking empty. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. The humans were supposed to be weak, soft. A hand clamped onto his shoulder. He whirled, striking out with his bladed forearm, only for his wrist to be caught mid-swing. "Ah," Slade tutted, squeezing. Bone cracked. Rethvar howled. She leaned in, her breath warm against his auditory receptors. "You Federation types always make the same mistake." "What mistake?" Rethvar gasped. Slade's grin was a white slash in the dark. "Thinking we'd fight fair." Her other hand snapped forward. Rethvar's world went black. The station's comms crackled to life. "Black Ops squad report." High Command's voice was tight with tension. Slade keyed the mic, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Sorry, they're a little tied up right now." Silence then. Slowly. "Who is this?" "Lieutenant Kara Slade, Earth Defense Force Hunter Division." She kicked Rethvar's unconscious body for emphasis. "Tell your bosses something for me." A pause. The channel hissed with static. Slade's voice turned to ice. "Next time you send assassins, send more." She crushed the comm unit in her fist. Behind her, Vasquez tossed a grenade into the reactor core. "Clock's ticking," he said. Slade stretched, rolling her shoulders. "Race you to the dropship." The hunters vanished into the shadows just as Cerberus Station erupted behind them, a fireball lighting up the void. Somewhere in the Federation war room, High Chancellor Vora stared at the feed in horror. The trap had failed, and now the monsters knew where they lived. The holographic feed flickered to life across 1,000,000 worlds. Every view screen in the Galactic Federation hijacked simultaneously. Prime Minister Adana Okoye stood at the center of Earth High Command's war room, her hands clasped behind her back. The golden light of emergency alerts reflected in her dark eyes as she watched the carnage unfolding behind her. "You called us weak," she began, her voice calm as a predator circling its prey. "You denied us a seat at your table. You laughed when we warned you not to push humanity into a corner." Behind her, the live feed showed the wreckage of the Zephyrian dreadnought Storm's Fang. Its once gleaming hull was torn open like a gutted animal, twisted metal glowing red, hot where hunter boarding teams had carved their way in. One of the hunters, Lieutenant Kara Slade, stood atop the ship's ruined bridge, her armored boots planted on the cracked viewport. She wiped blood from her knuckles and smirked into the nearest camera. Adana continued, her voice carrying across the stars. You assumed our lack of interstellar wars meant we had never fought. You were wrong. The feed cut to archived footage, black and white recordings from Earth's darkest years, cities burning, soldiers with crude cybernetics stalking through radioactive ruins, a man with Darius Cole's face tearing through an enemy bunker with nothing but a combat knife. We have been fighting since the first caveman picked up a rock, Adana said. We just never stopped. In the Federation war room on Zenthis, High Chancellor Vora gripped the edge of the holotable, his scales dull with sweat. General Shilthar's mandibles trembled as he watched the live feed of Cole dismantling a Vorak shock troop, ripping the reptilian warrior limb from limb with terrifying ease. This is impossible, Shilthar hissed. On screen, Adana tilted her head. You wanted to see humanity's military contribution? She gestured. And the feed switched to a dozen different battles. Hunters moving through pirate strongholds, Federation black sites, even the ruins of Cerberus Station. Every frame showed the same thing, aliens dying. You are seeing it now. A Zeperian senator on the Federation Council screamed as the feed zoomed in on his private estate, a hunter standing over his security detail. Their bodies arranged in a grotesque spiral. The hunter looked up, his augmented eyes locking onto the camera. Run, he suggested. Adana let the silence stretch. The only sound was the distant echo of alarms from the Storm's Fang's dying systems. Then she leaned forward, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. Let me be clear. This is not a negotiation. This is not a plea for recognition. She tapped a command into her console, and every screen in the galaxy displayed Earth's coordinates, bright and pulsing. A challenge. This is your only warning. Stand down, or we will show you why our ancestors called war the Great Equalizer. The feed cut abruptly, leaving a billion aliens staring at blank screens. In the silence that followed, the first Zeperian colony world went dark, then another. Then 3 Vorak outposts. By the time the Federation scrambled its fleets, the hunters were already moving. The air smelled of ionized metal and burning polymer. Elias Vance stepped over the shattered remains of the Senate's great doors, his boots crunching on shards of crystalline alloy that had once formed the proud emblem of the Galactic Federation. Behind him, 12 hunters moved in perfect silence, their enhanced musculature humming with barely restrained power. The scars on their bodies told stories no alien would ever believe. The chamber was empty except for the smoldering ruins of the high podiums where the Greek species had once held court. The holographic banners of 100 empires lay in flickering ruins across the floor. Elias paused beside the toppled podium of Senator Vexler, running a finger along the deep claw marks where the Zeperian had tried, and failed to hold his ground. They ran, Lieutenant Kara Slade observed, her voice flat. She nudged a discarded ceremonial blade with her foot. Even the Vorak. Elias said nothing. He walked to the center of the chamber where the Federation's Great Seal had been inlaid in precious metals. Now it was a crater. He knelt, pressing his palm against the scorched earth. Above them, the sky burned. Human warships hung in low orbit, their railgun batteries still glowing from the final volleys. The last of the Federation's dreadnoughts had broken apart over the capital 6 hours ago, its wreckage painting the horizon with falling stars. A comm crackled to life in Elias's ear. Prime Minister's inbound. Admiral Riker's voice announced. She wants the stage set. Elias stood, brushing dust from his knees. He turned to the hunters. Form up. They moved like shadows taking shape, 8 forming a perimeter, 4 ascending to the broken observation galleries, with rifles that could core a battle tank. Slade remained at Elias's side, her fingers resting on the hilt of a monomolecular blade. The doors hissed open. Not with the grand ceremony of Federation processions, but with the efficient whine of human hydraulics. Prime Minister Adana Okoye entered, flanked by 2 more hunters. She wore no armor, just a simple black suit, the golden earth pin on her lapel catching the firelight. "It is smaller than I imagined," she remarked. Her eyes scanning the ruined chamber. Elias nodded. "They built it to intimidate." Okoye smiled. "Did it work?" "Not even a little." She stepped up to the crater where the seal had been, her heels clicking against the broken tiles. The hunters adjusted their positions without a word, creating a half-circle behind her. Somewhere in the ruins, a piece of ceiling collapsed with a distant crash. "Are we live?" Okoye asked. "A technician somewhere off," Sight confirmed. Across the galaxy, every surviving view screen, every comm unit, every public display flickered to life. The image showed Okoye standing in the wreckage of galactic power, the hunters at her back like statues carved from nightmares. "People of the Federation," she began, her voice calm. "3 months ago, your leaders stood in this very chamber and declared humanity unworthy of a seat at this table." She kicked a piece of broken podium. "They called us weak. They said we had no place among the great species." Okoye reached into her jacket and removed a small data chip. She held it up, then dropped it into the crater. A hologram erupted, footage from the first hunter deployment. Captain Darius Cole moving through pirate forces like a force of nature, limbs blurring, bodies falling. Then Slade's team at Cerberus Station. Then the fall of the dreadnoughts. "You were wrong," Okoye said simply. Somewhere in the city, an explosion rumbled. The hunters didn't flinch. "We tried diplomacy. We tried playing by your rules." Okoye's smile faded. "Now you'll play by ours." The transmission didn't end there. Every surviving Federation world watched as the hunters moved, not with the clumsy brutality of Vorak shock troops or the clinical precision of Zephyrian assassins, but with something far worse: purpose. Elias stepped forward as Okoye retreated. He activated his own comm, his voice carrying across the stars. "Attention all remaining Federation military units. You have 6 hours to surrender. Any ship that powers weapons will be destroyed. Any station that resists will be boarded." He let that hang in the air. The war is over. The galaxy is ours. Silence then. One by one, the emergency channels lit up with surrender codes. Slade exhaled through her nose. That was anticlimactic. Elias watched the feed scroll, Zephyrian battle groups, lowering shields, Vorak legions grounding arms. "They finally learned," he said. Okoye reappeared at his side, studying the same data. "What do you think they'll call this?" she mused. "The fall? The reckoning?" Elias turned toward the broken skyline, where Earth's flag now flew over Zenthis for the first time in history. "They'll call it the day humanity stopped asking for permission." The hunters stirred. Somewhere in the ruins, a bird, Terran, not native, took flight. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.